My name is Linda Campbell. I'm a retired Lieutenant Colonel with the U.S. Air Force. I was on active duty in the Air Force for 4 years, and then I was in the National Guard and Reserve for an additional 21, so I have 25 years military service. I'm also a lesbian, and I was living with my wife in Eugene, very happily so. And we were together 18 years, and the last 12 of those she had metastatic breast cancer. I very much wanted for her to be buried with me up at Willamette National Cemetery. Anyone who served a minimal time with an honorable discharge from the military can be buried up there with their spouse or at any national cemetery. But because we were a same-sex couple, we did not share in that right. Brad called me one day. I didn't know who he was or really what his job was. He was reaching out to constituents, and I mentioned to him that Nancy was dying, and that I was hurt and angry that I couldn't be buried at the National Cemetery and have my service recognized and have my love for my partner recognized like other soldiers. And then I apologized to him. I said, well, I know there's nothing you can do about this. This is a federal matter, and you're a state official. And he said, Linda, don't be so sure. He said, let me look into this, and I'll call you back tomorrow. And he did. He called me back the next day, and he said, if this is what you really want, put your application in, but don't send it directly to Washington, D.C. He said, send it to me first, and I'll put a cover letter on it. And that's exactly what we did, and it took a long time. We began the process in May of 2012. Nancy died in December. We still had no answer. Brad thought it was important that all Oregon residents have equal rights. That's the way it is in Oregon. And the cemetery in which we wanted to be buried is in Oregon, and he felt the federal government was violating my right as an Oregonian to be buried there. So he was representing Oregon as well as me, and was on the verge of suing the federal government on our behalf when, and I'm certain the president had some input here, but and certainly the Secretary of Veterans Affairs did. But it was in early February of 2013 we finally got approval to have Nancy buried up there. And it was just really important to me. And it wouldn't have happened without Brad. He was there for me, and he gave me the courage and the strength to follow through to seek equal rights. And I'm very pleased to say that I got that right, Nancy got that right. I'll join her someday. Our headstone will say, "Together Forever." And other veterans like myself will be able to be buried up there with their loved ones too. So this year, I'm voting for Brad Avakian for Secretary of State. He stood up for me, and this time I'm standing up for him.
Brad Avakian for Secretary of State.